My name is Megan O'Russell.
And I am Christopher Russell, and we would like to welcome you to the Page by Page podcast, Writing the Book in Real Time. So this week we are going to read chapter 2, and we're going to read it in its entirety. It's going to happen. Yeah, so that said, we don't have a lot of time to talk before because there are some questions I want to get to afterwards. But I wanted to do talk about the bookshelf in the room.
Yes.
Yes, for those of you who are watching.
Look, isn't it beautiful? I saw a bookshelf like this when we were in Portugal, and I desperately wanted it. And this lovely, lovely man built one for me, and I think it's great. You can't see all of it on the camera, but I have like a little shelf for all my Pokemon things, and I have my book and my Albrea map, and it's great. It's really quite lovely.
For those of you who are listening at home or on the road, be careful. Just to let you know what this is, it's a bunch of little apple crates that are kind of stacked on top of each other in a sort of checkered board pattern. I forget what the name. It's Obidos. If you can find pictures of a bookstore in Obidos, Portugal, it's Obidos. You can get an idea of what we're trying to accomplish. It's really cool.
Oh, and I have a picture of it. So when
so
we put up this episode, we
notes.
will put a picture of this bookcase and the inspiration bookcase out with the podcast. Up on social media.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into it, let's introduce the beer of the week. And we actually have the glasses for it. So you show your the back of your glass, and I'll show you the front. So this is from Victory Brewing, which is in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, which we moved from not maybe an hour away from there. Yeah. But this is one of our favorite Belgians. It's really good. It's called Golden Monkey. So cheers.
Yeah, I'm nervous about this chapter.
Why?
I don't know. I just am.
Well, this chapter is great. Honestly, I enjoyed the first chapter. This chapter kind of made me fall in love with this book and catapulted it to the top of my faves.
That makes me more nervous.
Oh my goodness. I mean, Ember and Stone still holds the crown because I just love Enna so much. But we're actually pinning that because we're going to talk a little bit about Enna a little bit later.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to get into it. This is Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer by Megan O'Russell.
I feel like you should give them like a 3-sentence catch up on what happened last time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's not a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So what happened last time was
on the Page by Page podcast.
We met our main character, Ella Day, and learned that she tells 3 lies her first day of school. And it just goes crazy from there. I mean, we find out she's a seer.
Do we want me to do the
recap
why
don't you do
instead?
The recap? Yeah.
Okay, I'll do the recap instead. So we meet our protagonist, Ella Day. It is her first day at Laureldale High School. And unfortunately, besides finding a werewolf in chemistry class, she also figures out that her Algebra 2 teacher is going to die when she has an unfortunately timed vision, because seeing your teacher die on the first day of school is never ideal.
No.
And it continues from there.
Yeah, so we ended the last chapter with her finishing the vision, and then Mr. Carver, the Algebra 2 teacher, telling her to take a seat. And tells her that's the best seat in the house. And what is it that she says? Everyone wants the best seat in the house to watch their math teacher die. And that is the end of chapter 1. All right, so are we ready to jump into chapter 2?
Ooh, okay, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Chapter 2. Hilarious, really. Corpse drop in Algebra 2. A perfect welcome to your new life and fuck you, Ella, all rolled into one. Sure, the feeling of being watched still scratched across the back of my neck, but at least I had impending doom to distract me as I headed to my seat in the 4th row. Paige, green sweater girl, gave a too tight smile as I slid into the seat beside her. Shall we begin? Mr. Carver said. Panicking? Already there, bud. Option 1, take notes. Learn math. Option 2, haul Carver to the hospital. Make him their problem. Screw the consequences. Paige leaned forward, catching my eye. Her lips moved. My mental list drowned out her whisper. Option 3, fake sick. Call EMTs. Hope they stay long enough to watch Carver drop. Paige tipped her head at me. I blinked at her, nudging my mind back toward more practical things like math, the werewolf in the 3rd row, and the way Mr. Carver's collar darkened as his sweat soaked the fabric. Option 4, admit you can't do this, run like hell, eat ice cream. Okay? I caught the tail end of Paige's whisper. I leaned closer to her. Are you okay? I gripped my books tighter. The books I'd kept clutched to my chest while I sat sideways at my desk, perfectly poised to run. Calm down. One body dropping is inconvenient, not catastrophic. I keep worrying I'm in the wrong class. I set my books on my desk and turned to face front. You're not, Paige said. The girl in front of me twisted toward Paige. Did you memorize the new girl's schedule? Mr. Carver knew she was coming. Paige leaned back in her seat. The girl in front of me sighed, shaking her head, giving her hair an extra flutter around her face before turning back to the board. I reached up, pulling my pencil from my bun, making sure the elastic stayed secure enough to keep my hair from falling and blocking my vision. Why the hell would you want to see? The irony settled my nerves, like when Mom whispered a dumb joke so she and I could laugh in our own little bubble of humor the rest of the world couldn't touch. Option 5. Stay calm. Remember the code. Wait for Mr. Carver to die. I flipped open my notebook, giving myself an excuse to stop watching Mr. Carver wipe his forehead on his sleeve for the 6th time. The Mr. Carver I'd seen die had been wearing the same pale yellow shirt as the Mr. Carver leaning against the board with one hand while scrawling crooked notes about functions with the other. How often does he wear that shirt? If he only wore sweat-stained yellow shirts to teach, I might have caught a moment that wouldn't happen for weeks, months even. And who... Mr. Carver took a rattling breath, the sound of it tighter at the end, like he was trying to force his lungs to accept more air. Shit. Who can solve... Another rattling breath. This equation. Nope, dude's dropping today. Anyone? Carver said. Don't make the corpse beg, people. A hand went up in the second row. Come on, then. Mr. Carver turned his chair toward the board and sat. I slid my hand into my pocket, grabbing my phone, fumbling on the plastic wrapping from my new planner. The fluttery-haired girl in front of me looked back. I gave her an apologetic wince as I slipped my phone into my lap and unlocked my screen. Heart stopping suddenly. I searched the phrase. What do we think? Mr. Carver said. Your day is going worse than mine? Correct. I looked up. Formula and answer. Andre finished. He sat in the front row, hand raised as he spoke, even though Mr. Carver kept his back to the class. Good work. The pitch of Mr. Carver's voice wobbled as he wheezed the words. I swiped away from my search, pulling up the actual phone part of my phone. Very good, Caleb. Imaginary gold star for you. Mr. Carver's chair shifted as he rocked himself to his feet. Caleb reached for his arm. I've got it. Mr. Carver waved him away, instead planting his hand on the chalkboard for balance as he wrote out a new equation. Caleb turned to go back to his seat. I knew what he was before I recognized his name. Faye. Dark hair, deep green eyes, and the pale skin of someone bred to live in the shadows narrowed Faye down to Dryad. But I didn't need the standard Dryad features, or the instinctual recognition of someone else like me, someone modern logic screamed couldn't exist, to be certain I was right. Just watching his few steps back to his desk, his movements were a little too smooth, too controlled, and when he caught me staring, the furrows on his brow maintained the perfect symmetry of his face. I gave him a little nod. Just before he turned away to sit, he nodded back, the movement almost too small for me to catch, like we were exchanging a secret handshake. Hello, fellow freak. My imagined version of Caleb's voice had the tone of a massive bodybuilder with the warble of a bad alien sound effect. The aetherion in me recognizes the aetherion in you. That's the thing about being a supernatural living among normal humans. Any kind of aetherion, even a less-than-friendly werewolf, makes it easier to breathe. It makes sense. When there are two of us in a room, I'm not carrying the weight of the world's biggest secret alone anymore. Knowing there were 3 of us in Algebra 2 kept my hand steady as I dialed 911, stopping before I actually sent the call. Are you okay, Mr. Carver? Paige asked. Mr. Carver looked toward the class, swaying just slightly from the movement. I slid my phone off my lap, my thumb hovering over call. I can assure you the equation is right. Mr. Carver's hand shifted on the board, leaving a sweaty handprint where his palm had been. Andre, confirm it. That's not what I meant, sir, Paige said. Mr. Carver stepped aside, giving Andre a clear view of the board. Correct, Andre said. I know. Mr. Carver swung his arm, aiming for a dramatic gesture, tipping himself off balance, gripping the lip at the bottom of the board to stay on his feet. Come on, just drop. Really, Ella? Mr. Carver? Paige said. Are you doubting my math again? Mr. Carver said. It's not about math, Paige said. Then why are you interrupting my class? Mr. Carver pushed away from the board. Fear filled his face mid-step. The reaction so quick, it was like he'd actually felt the snap as his minor irritation at Paige severed his last tether to life. The fluorescent light glinted off the sweat on his forehead as he grabbed the back of his chair. Mr. Carver? The blonde wall stood. Fall, damn it! Mr. Carver's legs buckled. I pressed call before his forehead cracked against the floor, making myself wait an extra heartbeat until the screaming started to run for the front of the room. He'd landed face down in the gap between his desk and the blackboard. I knelt beside him, feigning looking for a pulse as the operator answered with a well-trained calm. 911, what's your emergency? A teacher collapsed at Lauderdale High. He needs an ambulance. I pinched the phone between my shoulder and ear, trying to turn Mr. Carver onto his back. You okay?
It's at Lauderdale.
Oh. I was like, what did I do? Lauderdale is actually a city in Florida. My apologies. Laureldale. Got it. Going back. A teacher collapsed at Laureldale High. That deserves a drink. Cheers.
Drink if you misplace your characters to another state.
Look, I'm not the one who left a couch in the middle of a scene where it didn't belong. Because I've never written anything.
That was a long time ago. Okay, continue.
A teacher collapsed at Laureldale High. He needs an ambulance. I pinched the phone between my shoulder and ear, trying to turn Mr. Carver onto his back. I've got him. The wall knelt beside me. Where in the school are you? The operator asked. Shit, I don't know. I looked toward the door. Andre stood at Mr. Carver's feet, blocking my view of the room number. Tell the operator where we are. I tossed my phone to him. The wall got Mr. Carver onto his back. Mr. Carver? A long gash cut across his head. It was barely bleeding. Of course not. Corpses aren't known for spurting blood. You know this. Shit. Get it together. Shit fuckers. Caleb! I shouted his name. Not loud enough to cut through the panicked screams filling the room, but I didn't bother calling again. Mr. Carver? The wall felt for the teacher's pulse. Caleb appeared beside me. An AED. Does the school have one? I said. Caleb stepped around us, heading for the door. I guess that's a yes, I said. I can't find his pulse, the wall said. Do you know CPR? I reached into my pocket, my mind not fully registering why until my fingers found the plastic I'd torn from my planner. Theoretically, the wall fell to the other side of Mr. Carver's neck. You're on chest compressions, I'm on air. Compressions. He patted down the center of Mr. Carver's chest. You got this? Easy. Compressions are easy. He stacked his hands and started counting. 1, 2, 3. I rammed 2 fingers through the thin plastic, making a hole in the middle. Crack! Shit! The wall jerked back, lifting his hands away from Mr. Carver. I think I broke him. Doesn't matter. Keep going. Someone else. He won't care about broken ribs if he stays dead. I spread the plastic over Mr. Carver's face, centering the hole over his mouth. His face now totally white with panic, the wall felt down Mr. Carver's chest and started compressions again. 25, 26. I took a deep breath, trying not to think about the dead teacher factor as I pressed my mouth to Mr. Carver's corpse. It's just air. It's not gross. Can I help? The wobbly voice came from above my head as I forced the second breath into Corpse Carver. Get everyone out of the way. I looked up as the wall started compressions again. Paige swiped the tears from her cheeks, nodding to herself before shouting, Everybody clear out! 18, 19, crack. Shit, sorry, 18, no, shit, 20. The wall kept going. Get out of my damn way! The shouted order came from the hall. Now! I tried to tell them to 29, 30. I breathed into Corpse Carver's mouth. What the hell happened? The hall shouter said. He just collapsed. the wall said as I did the second breath. Move! The shouter took the wall's place. As she reached to feel for Corpse Carver's non-existent pulse, I caught sight of her name tag. Nurse Thompson. A school nurse. High schools have those, Ella Day. You're supposed to get the nurse if someone dies. Andy! The nurse opened Corpse Carver's eyes. I looked away. The AED. Caleb stood by Corpse Carver's feet, holding out a yellow box that looked more like a jump starter battery for a car than anything that could help a person. Andy! Mrs. Parker appeared beside Caleb. The nurse grabbed the AED. Helen, help me. Jason? Here. The wall leaned over the desk, like he'd been waiting to be summoned. Get the students out of here. The nurse opened Corpse Carver's sweat-stained shirt, exposing the pale, saggy skin beneath. I scrambled sideways, clearing my place for Mrs. Parker. Don't! The wall grabbed my arm, basically tossing me up onto my feet, saving me from planting my hand in the too small puddle of blood from Corpse Carver's head wound. Beep! I whipped toward the sound, yanking free from the wall's grip, banging against the corner of Corpse Carver's desk. The voice on the loudspeaker had no pretense of calm. All students will stay in their classrooms. Someone, maybe it was me, had knocked over Corpse Carver's coffee. The deep brown liquid seeped into his notes, blooming up from the puddle on the laminate top of the desk like a mind-blown emoji gawking at how I'd been at Lauderdale High less than a... I said it again. Drink.
Ooh, ooh.
Okay. Laureldale.
Laureldale, Greek.
Got it.
Laurel.
Yes, laurels. Yes, laurels. The crown of laurels. Got it.
Yes.
Noted. I know Greeks. I know Greek mythology and history. Okay. Someone, maybe it was me, had knocked over Corpse Carver's coffee. The deep brown liquid seeped into his notes, blooming up from the puddle on the laminate top of the desk like a mind-blown emoji, gawking at how I'd been at Laureldale High less than a day and was already standing beside a dead body. The school is not under lockdown, the loudspeaker voice said, but all students will remain in their classrooms until further notice. Not this classroom, the nurse shouted from the floor as the AED turned on with a bleep bleep. Out! Even you, Jason. Cutting around the wall, I hurried for the door, abandoning my books. Most of the Algebra 2 class had gathered straight down the hall on the far side of the intersecting corridors. I let my steps slow as I neared the crossway. Turning right would lead me to an empty section of the corridor. Turning left would take me to 3 students who'd huddled together like a triad of trauma. Continuing straight to join the cluster of students would tear off the social band-aid. Forcing my way into the herd on the vague hope no one screamed freak definitely ranked as the least appealing option. No one outside the Aetherion community had ever shouted Sybil in my face, and I'd only gotten seer a few times. Psychic, clairvoyant, medium, prophet, which was always weird, and demon, which is hilarious to anyone who's seen an actual demon, were way more common. I'd gotten every version of weirdo, crazy, and witch, too. But freak stings the most. The hard K at the end really helps drive the loathing home. Over here! A girl in the clump of students across the hall waved me over. You can wait with us. We'll be out of the way, the wall said. I hadn't noticed him stop beside me. He gestured forward like he didn't know if I'd heard. Thanks. I didn't even try to give the wall a grateful smile. From the frantic, adrenaline-fueled glaze in his eyes, he couldn't have managed one either. Sirens blaring from the front of the school finally made me move, heading straight toward the herd. You helped someone in an emergency. Totally normal. Nothing wrong with that. You didn't call for help until after he'd fallen. Everything is okay. You are okay. Is Mr. Carver okay? The girl who'd waved me over asked. Did he wake up? Paige asked. Andre ran up the hall, leading 2 EMTs and a few firefighters. It's really bad, isn't it? Paige clung to the waving girl's arm. He wasn't breathing. The wall leaned against a locker, dragging his hands down his face. I broke his ribs. It's pretty common, I said. The wall shook his head. Better a few fractures than compressions too light to help. I reached into my pocket for my phone. If he comes back, it'll be because you helped. Comes back? Waving girl's voice hitched. Paige crumpled into sobs. I checked my other pockets, still searching for my phone. I should have made him stop teaching. Paige coughed the words through her tears. If he's dead, it's my fault. Paige, honey, the fluttery-haired girl who'd been sitting in front of me took Paige's hand. Let it go. Even your savior complex isn't as powerful as the Grim Reaper. Truth. Just don't. Paige pulled her hand free. Andre still had my phone. Didn't you see him strutting through the blackboard? Fluttery Hair said. But I guess you wouldn't notice a fine-ass man like Mr. G. Reaper. Haley, have a little respect, Sydney said. The voices in Corpse Carver's classroom got louder. Fluttery Hair Haley pursed her lips at Sydney, then winked at Paige. But the way the Reaper handled his... Can you shut up? I cut across Haley. What? Haley rounded on me. I'm trying to hear the paramedics, I said. Eavesdropping isn't... The Grim Reaper isn't real, I said. Lie number 2. No sexy specter came to haunt class. So either dead math teachers make you wet, or you're just being a dick to Paige while she's in shock. I closed my eyes, trying to hear past Paige's hiccuping tears. Either way, just stop. A paramedic counted down again. Come on, Carver. Lose the corpse status. This coming from the girl who just had her mouth on a dead math teacher, Haley said. Wow. This is a good time to mention that we are in Florida. So storms,
I flinch a lot, but the thunder's normal for us. We just have to deal with it.
It's
okay.
That ends in Y. Or maybe that was just Carver's cue. Maybe he's gone. No, I'm kidding. He left a long time ago. Bye, Carver. Oh, yeah. This coming from the girl who just had her mouth on a dead math teacher, Haley said. Don't start on her, Sydney said. If I got my phone back from Andre, I could text Kate. Tell her I was fine before she had a legal guardian to an asshole who can't make it through one day of school meltdown. Is the new girl already your cause? Haley said. Haley, Waving Girl whispered. Your new puppy leapt to her feet and called 911 like it's her favorite hobby, Haley said. Then the carcass kisser. Her parents are dead, you fuck! Sydney's shout echoed down the hall. Pain rammed into my chest, knocking the air from my lungs before digging deeper, like panic gave grief an extra edge. The students in the herd froze, either waiting for me to crumble or for Sydney and Haley to fight. You're okay. You're okay. You are fucking okay. What the hell was that? Principal Harrison of the Give You a 2-hour tour to prepare you for our fine institution, Harrisons, stepped through the herd. His gaze moved from Sydney to Haley to me, then back to Sydney. Miss Dupuy, you will come to my office after lunch. Miss Harper, he turned to Haley, you will report to my office after school. What? Red crawled up Haley's neck as Principal Harrison looked to me. Miss Day? He said it as a quiet question, like maybe he could feel it too. Not the pressure in my chest that promised I'd spend the rest of my life fighting for every breath. The feeling of something clicking into place, like a switch shifting over on a railroad track or a kicked rock tumbling down a slope. A path had been set, and momentum is a bitch to stop. Ella, Principal Harrison said, can you get to the office? I opened my mouth, trying to form the word yes. Nothing came out. I nodded. I let the buzzing in my head drown out the pounding of the paramedics' steps as they ran Corpse Carver to the front of the school. And that is the end of Chapter 2. Sorry, just checking, making sure we're still recording. Excellent. All right, yeah. So how do you feel?
I feel like this is a terrifying thing to have you read it on video. Sure. But I feel good with where the story is so far. Okay. I'm really happy with it.
Good.
I really like Ella, but this is like sitting here and listening to you read it and knowing that this is going out in video and podcast form is terrifying.
It's okay.
It kind of makes me question why I decided that I wanted to do this, but such is life. Oh,
this is great. Yeah, wow.
Oh, that could be a bad storm. We'll be fine.
It's supposed to be through by now, so this is interesting.
Yeah. The world ends. The world ends. Here we go.
All right, so I have some questions that I would like to ask you. The world wants to know. The first thing...
I feel like I'm getting a stress rash. I feel like, I'm definitely getting a stress rash.
So the first thing is something that I looked at when we were looking at this before recording. The plastic coating the planner. Did you plant that in chapter 1 just so... No. I remember what you said to me. Why don't you tell them what you told me? Like why you had the plastic covering so that her lips weren't directly touching Carver's.
I couldn't handle writing a book where the first time my protagonist lip locks, it's with a corpse. I get it. It's CPR. It's not kissing. Like, it is a medical thing. It is times of emergency.
So you say corpse. Is he definitely just completely gone by the time that
you're
that
not
even
supposed
starts?
to know that yet?
Oh.
Yeah, you don't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you
Great.
can't.
Well, I don't know it, so that's great.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, it is a romance. Mm-hmm. There is going to be strong romantic elements in this book, even though I wouldn't call it a romance novel. Mm-hmm. So I just couldn't bring the first lip-to-lip experience to be with a corpse.
Sure.
So I did. I planted the plastic for the planner. One, because I wanted it to be something where she's panicked because she isn't as prepared as she thought. Mm-hmm. And I needed paper for her to doodle on. And I also needed some dates mentioned so that we know things that are coming up.
Oh,
so
the
planner
sense.
was important.
Yeah.
But then I added the plastic specifically to the planner so that the first lips wasn't weird dead math teacher lips.
Yeah. No. Okay. I appreciate that.
So that's why the planner was multi-purpose.
Okay.
The planner had a lot of functions going on.
Okay. So my other one of my other questions is the term aetherion. Mm-hmm. Aetherion, which I never pronounce the same way twice. Aetherion. Why? Why not supernatural? Why did you go with aetherion?
Because, so this gets weirdly, really into world building that isn't important.
Okay, well, we don't need to go into
no. It's not spoilers.
Okay.
It's not Corpse Carver spoilers.
Right.
But it's just, we don't need this in the world right now.
Right, yeah.
But I'm happy to tell you.
Yeah, I would love, I just feel like, you introduced it in chapter 2 for a reason. You clearly want the reader to become acquainted with this term. So why this term?
Because in this world, there are subsets of supernaturals.
Right.
And so the aetherions are part of a specific grouping of that community. Mm-hmm. So in deep lore, who knows if this lore will ever make it on the page. Mm-hmm. When the schism of supernatural happened and some of the supernatural species decided that they wanted to integrate into the human society. Mm-hmm. So they gave up things like their wings and their other supernatural things in order to be able to live with humans. They are the aetherion. Okay. So things like demons, the Grim Reaper, they are not a part of that treaty. Okay. So it's everyone who was in that treaty who agreed to, yes, we will live in secrecy. We will pretend we don't exist in order to preserve ourselves. That is the aetherion community. Okay. So anything like vampires do not count. Demons do not count. Ghosts do not count. The Grim Reaper does not count. Okay. So it's
there are ghosts and demons?
Yes.
Ooh.
So, but those aren't a part of this community. Okay. So those are part of the supernatural world that does not coexist with humans.
So all aetherions are supernaturals, but not all supernaturals are aetherions. Okay.
So there are certain rules and expectations that govern the aetherion community that demons don't have anything to do with. Okay. So ending up in a classroom with a demon would not be comforting.
Sure.
Ending up in a classroom with a fellow aetherion, there are rules of conduct. This is...
I want to ask a question, but I'm not going to.
You can ask, and I'll hide my face.
I just am are there any demons in this school? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's okay.
As of now, there are no demons in the school.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
At this time... I'm not saying it is never going to happen, but
Yeah.
at this time, there are no demons in Laureldale.
Okay. All right. Great. So
Because that's the thing, is that demons does not have anything to do with...
I think you mean Lauderdale. Sorry.
No, demons don't have anything to do with this plot line.
Okay.
So that's why I'm using specifically Aetherion now instead of like treaty people, blah, 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 blah. Is
Right.
because really all you need to know right now is that there are people called Aetherions.
Got it.
They are a group. They exist in this world. They exist with human. And we can get into not all supernaturals are Aetherian way later.
Right.
But we kind of have to introduce that term so that we have that name for the community going forward so that I'm not dropping it like halfway through book 2.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, here's this weird word I never gave you, but I'm going to slip it in there now and hope you think it always existed.
Yeah. Okay, so there are 2 other questions.
Okay.
This one is something that you and I discussed, and you convinced me that this was the right move. But I want
I'm nervous.
to no. I want to talk to you about this because I think that I'm assuming that there are writers listening, aspiring writers, who might have a similar question, like, wanting to know why you chose to do this, but the language. So far in Sketchbook, you're clearly capturing the way that teens talk, right? Like this is how, I was a foul-mouthed teenager. Teenagers should be allowed to express themselves, and you are not censoring them in that, which I appreciate as a fellow artist. I appreciate that you are not censoring them. What are your concerns about the potential for losing readers? And the reason I'm asking this again is for any aspiring writers who are out there who might be concerned that they need to keep everything squeaky clean.
I think the thing is, if I were trying to write a squeaky clean story, then I would be concerned about saying fuck too much.
Right.
But there's, the reference, but for the non-music theater people who are listening to the podcast, there is a musical called The Full Monty. And part of the plot is that all of these normal guys are becoming strippers to make money. But at the very beginning of the show is the most sexually charged strip of the entire thing. It's a professional stripper. It is there. It is a full-on strip. And I feel like part of the reason that the creators of the show put that super in-your-face strip at the very beginning of the Full Monty is that it's weeding everyone out. If you can't handle the opening strip, please go back to the box office, get your ticket refund, and leave before we go through this whole journey seeing these normal guys learn to be strippers. And for me, saying fuck is kind of like that. Okay. Where if you're looking for a super clean teen experience, this isn't it.
Right.
So as things get darker and as things get more sexually charged and more sexual, if you can't handle me typing the word fuck on the page, this isn't the story for you.
Yeah. And I'm assuming this is something we actually haven't talked about. And I was going to talk to you about this before we recorded, but we can all just be a part of this now. We're not censoring this. Yeah. We're not censoring this podcast.
I mean, no, because that's the thing is that
it's that if you're out now, you're out. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, we are planning on reading the chapters in whole. So as darker content, and this story is going to get dark. This is not a happy-go-lucky.
What? No.
This isn't a happy-go-lucky like
get dark in your
Brian to
stories?
Adams.
Yes.
Because I do have a book, The Tale of Brian Adams. The first book is How I Magically Messed Up My Life in 4 Freaking Days. And that is a happy-go-lucky book.
Right.
This is, yes, it is a comedy. There are going to be funny moments in this. Yes, it is a romance. There are going to be romantic moments in this, but that's not what this is.
Right.
This is
a dark, gritty.
It's a realistic,
sure,
which is a weird way to say it, but it's a realistic paranormal mystery, which means that people are going to die. Okay. Teens are going to swear. People are going to have sex. Like, this is what it is. And like, I never want to aim for anything gratuitous. Unless,
no. Right.
Like, I don't know why entrails would be important to someone dying specifically. But I'm never going to just like have entrails flying for funsies. Right. Like, I don't want to be gratuitous.
And going to that, I don't think that any of the fucks that you drop in this, and this is where this conversation started. You were like, if you find one that is gratuitous, cut it. And I couldn't find one that didn't fit. I was like, no, these all make perfect sense to me. Thank
Sorry,
you.
I had to.
That was slightly gratuitous.
That one didn't fit, but I just really wanted it.
I'm glad that you brought up Bryant. Are you okay if we move on from this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to ask the direction of this book. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but when we first started talking through the idea for this book, you were like kind of leaning more towards an Enna Isla vibe. If anybody has, if you have not read Ember and Stone and you were an epic fantasy fan, go do yourself a favor and read Brea. It's just, the books are wonderful. And that's not me selling you something. Like, buy it or don't. Wait for it to be free. I don't care. Read the book. It's incredible. I'm a super fan of Brea. I know you do. I know. I see you trying to turtle into your shell.
I can't. I'm wearing a tank top. I have no collar.
But I feel like you went from, and isn't that kind of what you were thinking at first? Isn't that what you discussed?
But that's what it is.
Yeah, but you ended up going a little bit more Bryant in your voice. And now why? Because like Bryant, so The Tale of Bryant Adams, she mentioned before, very light comedy, urban fantasy, but it is like Bryant's voice is you. So is that why you went back to like this feels a little bit more like your personal voice? I
don't think that was intentional.
Okay.
So in the first chapter of this, which I think we're titling Welcome to Laurelvale.
Sorry, I'm kidding.
You suck. But the way her mind was going was it was clinging to reason. So you can't really think of those thoughts and that internal monologue as her own.
Okay.
She is desperately trying to climb up this ladder to get to the first day of school and do this thing she's supposed to be doing. So all of her thoughts are conquer anxiety, make it to the end of the day. And then all of a sudden we have an emergency dropped in her lap, which strangely, a teacher dying on the floor is way more normal to her.
Sure.
Than trying to pretend she's not grieving for her parents. So as soon as it's like, I have an emergency, good.
She's seen people die before the book ever starts. Okay.
So
like, and by I mean seen, I mean like had a vision that they were going to die.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the kind of thing that happens where if you know when people are going to drop, you're going to be good at first aid.
Yeah.
Like, she's called 911. She knows the comforting voice.
Because she wants them to not
die,
even though she...
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's one of those things of, like, she's called 911. She's done CPR. Like, she's, like, followed behind people on the street being like, you drop in sometime soon. Hooray, you dropped. I give you CPR. Like, she's experienced. She knows how this goes.
Yeah.
So this is her reverting into her actual thought process of like, this is my actual brain. This is my real brain.
Right.
And maybe that's a statement on like how your brain works with trauma of like, that thought process doesn't feel like you. And then when you snap back into your own thought process, that's when it becomes clearer and she becomes capable of more action.
I think I want to try to find this, but I probably won't be able to. But it was something like where she is watching him and she's got her thumb hovering over the 911 and she says, oh gosh, where is it? Oh yeah, come on, just drop to herself. Come on, just drop. Really, Ella? Like that's where I was like, oh my gosh, like the shades of Bryant. I love it. That makes me very happy. I love that you are, and this is actually leads to a second part of this question, is are you purposefully juxtaposing the dark material with a slightly lighter voice to it? So that, I mean, I'm assuming that not all of the chapters are going to be told in such a light, humorous voice with such a tongue-in-cheek approach.
They aren't, but I feel like that is, okay, for me as an author, that's just who she is.
Right, okay.
Of like, she has survived so much trauma, the sarcasm is like just ingrained at this point.
Is it a defense mechanism or it's just
I don't think it's a defense mechanism. Okay. It's just like the normal shade of function.
Sure, okay.
Of like, it's this, okay, I have to make a plan, survive the plan. Plan didn't work. Okay, fuck plan, survive new plan.
Right.
Like, that is where her brain is at because it is survival mode when people are dropping around you all the time.
Yeah.
Especially after such a recent tragedy, which, you know, we're not fully going into it yet, but I forgot what the question was.
Oh, it was just about, are you trying to counterbalance the dark?
Oh, right. Yeah. No, so yes. Because she has to have a redeeming quality.
Okay.
Because if we just have sad girl mourns parents, sad girl gets stuck in school, sad girl, other things that you don't know about her that are bad that are happening, like, yes, you could go on this deep, mournful journey with her. but are you really going to root for her as anything other than a victim? And that's the thing I don't want. I don't want her to be a beloved victim. I want her to be an admirable survivor.
Okay.
And I think that giving people those glimpses of her strength, even if it comes with barbs and curses, like giving them that strength to see like, okay, like I can root for her. I can cling to her.
Right.
This is okay. So I want people to have that love for her. And giving her that kind of internal monologue, I hope, brings people closer to her.
I absolutely think that it will. I love having the insight into her thinking. I love also seeing the fact that she's like constantly calming herself down. You can tell that she's been through a lot of therapy, and that, I mean, you know, when you are constantly seeing people die, I feel like you kind of need it.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody could do with a good dose of therapy, but
well, the thing with Anna and Lonnie in Ember and Stone and then Heart of Smoke is that both of them, from the beginning, they have a clear enemy, a clear cause.
Sure.
And that is how I can pull people along.
Okay.
Because Lonnie is saving her sister. That's it. That's my little hook.
Yeah.
You want Lonnie to save her sister.
Yeah.
With Anna, it's these people are monsters. You want to see her win.
Right.
With Ella, I don't have a sister hook. I don't have a monster hook. I have a her hook.
Okay.
She, in and of herself, has to be enough to make people want to continue.
Okay.
With her little sarcastic ass self.
Yeah. Well, she's doing a great job. She's pulling me along, definitely.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, there's also like a sexy fae and some werewolves and corpse carver. So there's like other stuff going on. But yeah, I need her to be someone that people will want to continue with.
Yeah. Oh, I think you were doing a wonderful job. Cheers.
This is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. All right, and I think that is about all the time that we have for this week. Mm-hmm. So I am looking forward to...
Oh, we didn't give them the title of this chapter.
Oh my goodness, that was silly of me. Okay, so remind me what the chapter, the first chapter is titled.
Welcome to Laurel Dale.
Got it. I forget what the second chapter was titled. Oh, really? Is that what it is? You can tell the audience. It's okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Aetherion cute.
They're cubed, not cute.
Oh, I thought,
because they're...
I heard cute. You whispered in my ear and I was like, oh, it's like a meat cute.
No, cubed. Because
look, mine works too. Yeah, that's right. Aetherion cubed.
Yours is...
Mine's cute.
We're not going to use it. Okay. But that's okay. Oh, so this is the end of episode 3. This is chapter 2 of Page by Page podcast. Make sure that you comment, like, share all the good things on your platform. Yeah. If you are listening on a platform that has a review system, please give us a thumbs up or a star or whatever it is.
A nice comment. Even if it literally says nice comment. That's great. We love that.
Wait, really? You can just comment nice comment?
Absolutely.
That's cool. I never thought of that.
I'm not going to lie. I took that from a video game podcast I listened to.
You listen to a lot of those.
Seth Macy of Nintendo Voice Chat says it all the time. He's like, you know, if you leave nice comment, and he talks about how people literally say nice comment, and that's what they do.
I know that you have the biggest crush on Seth Macy.
I do.
You do have the biggest crush on Seth Macy.
And on Damon Hatfield.
All right, but we should... That's true. Yeah. But we should wrap it up. Thank you for sharing chapter 2 in Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer with us and for coming along on this fun podcast ride filled with technical issues and thunder.
Yeah.
But to next week's chapter with Ella Day.
To Laurel Dale.
To finding out if Corpse Carver keeps the corpse status.
Oh. My bet is he keeps the corpse status.
But now we have the wall. And a fae. Whatever will we do?
Oh, my goodness.
Find out next time.
I hope that the next chapter is called Trapped Between a Wall and a Fae.
It's not,
oh,
but...
Never mind.
We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us on Page by Page Podcast.